This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code SOCRATES at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenro radio playlist. zenroclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Pornian Bakery. If you're located in the Pornian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Pornian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone can podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. Before we jumped into the craziest thing that I'm sure it didn't hit your feed, but or maybe it did, who knows? Did you see the News Nation thing?
Yeah.
You saw it? You watched it?
The clips, yeah.
Okay, yeah, the clips. So I was waiting for that too. But the actual full segment dropped.
Mm-hmm.
This I guess an hour. Well, an hour before I went to bed. But I watched it this morning. Did you see it yet?
No, I didn't watch the full hour.
Dog. It's game over. There is no denying it at this point. If you watch the full thing,
Mm-hmm.
he goes into it. All the people jump in, and all these high credentialed people are working together on it. I'll get into it later, but I don't there's no way you can deny it at this point. It's you have all these people. Did you see the film footage? They have more footage, and you're just like, dog, what are we doing?
I saw the egg footage.
Yeah, bro. All right, wait. All right, we'll get into that after. Let's just start off with some gentle topics. So yesterday you were checking out the water plant. I was curious about that when you said you were gonna go visit it, but I've never heard of you think about the water that we drink, but you never think about water sanitation or filtration. Is that what you checked out yesterday?
Yeah, so this is the water that what you flush down and down.
Oh, the toilet.
And toilet, the sinks, the drains.
Okay, so how does that work? Because you're always are we eating our own feces? Does that just go into the lake? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's different plants, right? There's different. Toronto runs a little differently. So this one's in Pickering, but they.
Oh, okay, cool.
But the thing is, so where I live in York region. York region is kind of big, right?
Okay.
It's Markham, Richmond Hill. I don't know if it's reaches close to Newmarket. I think I don't know the exact borders, but anyways, in that plant, which is all the way down in Pickering, 80% of its inflow is coming from York region, which is from where I'm at.
Oh, that's interesting. Pickering.
Yeah, so the plant's in Pickering. So yeah, 80% of our outflow goes to their inflow, right?
Okay, that's interesting. So how do they decide which locations get the
It's already probably been mapped out, right? So 80%. So for the York region, 80% of our stuff goes there. So out of the 100%, 80% of our own stuff goes there, and then they deal with 80% of York region's things. And if they for their 100% is 20% is Durham region, which is HX Pickering.
Wow, you would think that because it's in Pickering that it would manage most of Pickering stuff.
Well, there's different plants. So this one specific one, because there's multiple ones, right? So that will deal with the other 80% of Durham region.
Okay, so it's not actually just one plant that services an entire area.
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
It'd just be too much to handle, or you get to make a huge facility.
How many plants are there?
I don't know how many total plants there are, but there's Toronto has their own thing. There's different ones in different areas, so I don't know so everything is and how everything is done, why all the way from York region has to go there. Well, because everything ends up, it's what do you call it? An elevation. generally. Everything goes to sea level,
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay.
right?
So
So
like
it's
it just makes sense for everything to go there because of the way that things are elevated.
yeah, but also like you don't have like a big lake. There's no big lake in Markham or Richmond Hill that an outflow can go to.
Okay, that's interesting. Wait, before we continue, just check the audio really quick. I don't know if maybe I just like boosted the
No, yeah,
like
we're both in
feel
yellow.
good.
Yeah.
All right, cool, cool. So with maybe I'll just turn mine down then. So like when it goes to like our waste goes to these plants and then
Mhm.
it just like filters, does it actually go out into the lake?
Yeah,
Or does it clean itself and then go to the lake? Like what do you do with all that well, like waste, you know?
so this, yeah, so specific to this plant, everything is cleaned prior to the end result going into Lake Ontario.
Okay, so
So
what do you do with the waste though? Do you like burn it? I've always wondered that,
yeah,
you know? Oh, you
that's
burn it?
correct. That's correct.
Oh, I was making that up because
Yeah.
I was thinking
So
about
they have
like
a, I think, what's the word they use? Some extermination or something like that. Anyways, everything it's burnt, it's turned into ash,
oh,
and it's recycled into for cement companies for cement products.
wow. That is so cool. Wow, that's actually really freaking innovative. Damn. I just made that up because I was thinking about third world countries where like you should burn your trash, you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's no trash place, so like I remember in the Philippines we just bring it outside and then they just like burn it.
Hmm.
But like I didn't actually think that they really did that here too. So
Yeah,
like that's the craziest like reduce reuse recycle kind of
yeah.
system, you know? Like our waste literally goes into like making concrete, you said?
It's
Was it
cement.
like
Yeah,
cement? It's the same thing, concrete cement.
yeah. Cement is in concrete. Concrete is a
Uh,
variety of mixtures of aggregates and other things, including cement.
so what is cement? What is that like the glue kind of
I
thing?
think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a bonding stuff. Yeah.
Wow, that is fascinating. So technically like our homes are made of feces. Like if you think about it like that, you know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
oh, that is wild. That's really cool. See, this is why I wanted to ask you about it because I'm like, you never think about what happens to this stuff,
Right, right.
you know? Especially, remember Garbage Hill, in Port Union, like next to the zoo? It was like there's this like giant hill, and they turned it when we were kids. We used to like climb that hill, and then you could see like all of like Toronto, Mississauga
Hmm.
from that point,
Hmm.
right, that highest point. But it was like I don't know if it was legal. I remember we followed Wob to like, 'cause he's like, hey, check this spot out, right? And then you found out later that it was made out of garbage. That's why it was such a mound. And I heard that downtown Toronto too is like it's floating on garbage. Like all that like repurposed land or like reclaimed land is like garbage as well. Is that true or making that up?
I don't know. I can't confirm or deny that.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. That is yeah, that's really interesting about like human ingenuity. You're just like, how can we take what we have and just like transform it
And it's
into
like there's a lot of things that are done through as natural as possible within even the breakdown of the material and uh,
waste?
how to clean it. So the waste is separated earlier on, and then it goes through multiple processes to get rid of the waste as well, and including whatever else is in the water to send out to into Lake Ontario has to be like clean water, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
they allow like even like microbes to do their job. Then there's like there's different kind of other microbes that they need air, so they have like air kind of like going through the water to feed the microbes, or
Wow, that's cool.
and then uh, break down all the other stuff, and then it goes
Yeah.
through chlorination as well to kill anything else, and then it's dechlorinated, and then they test that stuff that it's like when you dechlorinate it, and then they check that stuff that's like almost like 0.000 something,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like basically zero before it goes out to zero level of like chlorine before it goes out into the Lake Ontario.
Wow, that is really impressive. If you were like let's say you were like an alien race and you came upon us, you'd be like, "Oh, they're onto something here." You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't want to affect it. That's how I feel.
Right.
That's a little prelude into because I didn't watch it yet, but there's UFO Revolution Part 2, which is with Jeremy Corbell, and then he has this scene at the very end, I guess it's the very end, where they're like, in 2027 they're gonna fake an alien invasion. They're gonna say like, oh, there's a ship coming that we just saw and it's slowly making its way to Earth, and like we need to work together, blah blah, and like that's the whole Project Bluebeam. But if I was like an alien race, I'd be like, this is pretty interesting. Like you guys are making like your feces into concrete. You figured out a way to like create clean water. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if well, I mean, sure you could want to destroy it, fine. But like I don't know if we'd fall into that kind of trick of like an alien race is coming. Like we have so much going on that like during COVID when everything shut down, it's like but things like this need to still happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is essential for life. So it's like, how can you just mass hysteria a bunch of people into not doing their jobs when like these things are so
yeah. And
essential, you know
and
what I
they're
mean?
even though it's government run, but even they're also regulated. They have their own regulation bodies to check to make sure. So they will test their own samples. Another regulator body will come and also test the water and stuff like that. So it's not like. And all these are public information. You can find the results and stuff like that.
Wow, that's interesting.
Online. Yeah.
So if I'm in Lake Ontario, is that actually polluted? Because you're thinking like, oh, it's like it's got like feces water. That's what I thought. I thought that they just shot out all the feces into the water and that was it. I didn't know that there's a whole like cleaning process and like
there's a cleaning process, yeah. And like the guy that gave us a tour was very interesting because his experience or the reason that he's in this kind of job or field is he did work at a water plant and then work at this plant, and he came from Walkerton, and he was like in high school when that E. coli breakout happened. Remember?
No, Walkerton.
Yeah, like where the E. coli breakout happened, like
in Canada.
Yeah, that's
why.
I don't know so that was like a big thing, and then now they have like the cleanest water. Like people go to the Walkerton plant like other countries go to Walkerton plant.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, to learn how they fix their thing and then like how they have the cleanest water. So like his like life or reason to be in this industry was that experience.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah. They say like there's this theory, well not theory, but it's like if you look at it like there's a pattern emerging, but your biggest trauma is usually what you're trying to like your biggest trauma is the fuel for you creating a solution for everyone else. So like people like that guy, he's like, oh, I went through this and now I'm gonna fix it for everyone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like
right.
You hear those kinds of stories all the time, and it's like it's fascinating how like out of the negativity something great can like be created. Wow, that's pretty cool. So like is Canada like leading the world in terms of water?
I don't know. I can't say that. Yeah, because that's what I read about like a while back. This is before I knew about this guy, right? I knew about I think probably in school time, like that was like because of the situation with Walkerton, and now they have like the best, cleanest water, at least at that time. So people were going there to learn from them.
Wow. Okay. Wow, we really take everything for granted here. That like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's great.
We don't even think about it. Like we just flush the drain, flush the toilets.
I mean. Yeah.
That's
like crazy, bro. yeah, for sure. And this is like all right. So we went to Buffalo. Yes. Anything else about that? This is like kind of related, but
no. It was really cool. Yeah, that was very interesting. But it's a huge plant, even though it's only dealing with 80% of York and 20% of Durham.
So then how many plants are there? You know what I mean? You're like.
Toronto, like there's different. Yeah, I don't know how many exactly, but I can probably look that up online and we can find out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I'm like, there's so many people. How many plants can service?
And then like and a growing population, so they have to build. Yeah. So they already have to build things over capacity in order to deal with the increase in population, because they're still building more stuff here, right? And all 80% of that's still going there. So
yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure. That's pretty cool. Yeah, man. So, all right, you're gonna look it up.
Yeah, yeah, you go ahead. Yeah,
Very
yeah.
cool.
I'll
All right.
see.
So yesterday we went to Buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
and so prior to this podcast, I took this Alpha Brain that I bought in Buffalo. Joe Rogan talks about it all the time. He takes it
Okay.
between like during the podcast. I feel nothing so far. I feel actually a little more groggy after taking it, but we'll see if I get sharper during the podcast.
Okay.
That's what they said. So it's really interesting what you're saying about like this growing population and like this stuff that we don't really like we take for granted, like flushing the water down the toilet,
Mm-hmm.
because I really feel like this is gonna sound so not rude. This is a hot take, but you know what? It's not a hot take because a lot of people in America already say this. So I'm just repeating what I've seen and I'm kind of like verifying what I'm seeing. It almost feels like it's like an advanced third world country. So we went to Buffalo, and the first thing I was like, wow, it's really run down over here, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And then, so why'd we go to Buffalo? Just to go to like Target. I've never been to Target, but Tara's like, oh, I want to go to Target. And then, like, we go there, and the prices are ridiculously cheap. The food is ridiculously cheap. The
Mm-hmm.
clothes are ridiculous. I bought like a puffer jacket kind of thing, and it was $20. The
Mm-hmm.
food was like $10. And we went to like this Mexican place. It was like delicious. The food's amazing in America. But why does it feel so like poor? You know what I mean? It's like, is this breaking? What's going on? Like the roads are kind of weird, the
Mm-hmm.
lights are kind of weird. And then we crossed the border at night from Buffalo to Toronto. And I was, well, not Toronto, like Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it feels so modern again, blah, blah, blah. And Tara's like, no, the answer for that is because like Toronto's one of the biggest cities and it's sprawling and it feels so, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it stretches so far. So you think that it's industrial, like industrious and like advanced, but it's really just all a part of Toronto. You know what I mean? But I was like, and she's like, Buffalo is such a far removed city from America that there's no investment there. But I was like, I've never seen a rundown city as rundown as what I felt. And what I do feel like,
Mm-hmm.
even when I went to Austin, I was like, dude, there's crazy amounts of homeless people here, you know, in Canada. She's like, yeah, you could find this kind of like level of poverty in Canada. I'm like, I don't know. I'd have to see it for myself because I've been to a lot of small towns, and a lot of small towns are like just small towns. You're just like, oh, it's like a small town, but it's not like, oh, this place is like dying, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you feel that too, or are you just like,
There are cities that are like that. 'Cause I would think of Detroit or Buffalo. Like these kinds of cities would be in that.
run down?
Yeah, because
Like,
they like what happens is like at least in Detroit. I don't know what happened in Buffalo, but like they were like a manufacturing hub, but then all that went away, right?
yeah, okay, yeah,
So the money isn't there anymore for the city in a sense.
totally. But like what I mean by rundown is like boarded up shops,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
buildings, like spray paint, like run down. You're just
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, what did we enter? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've never felt that in Canada. Like I like maybe you can tell me like, hey, you should visit this place. Even like the poorest place. My mom's like, oh, there's this place like, or like let's say BC. Like the
Mm-hmm.
street with all the homeless people. I've driven up and down that. It's like, yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But like, now I've seen crazier stuff in America,
It
bro.
was just that street, right?
It's just that street, right?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And like, but in America, it's like so much. Like, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
like even
they
in
have like 10
Austin,
times our population, right?
America. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Something like California is the amount of in
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a fun fact. Yeah, but that's weird to me because I'm like, we have this depiction of like
Mm-hmm.
America being this great country, and then you go there and you're kind of like, it's a little weird.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You found the number?
Yeah. It was 400 something. 443, I think it was.
In what?
Four,
in
400
one-
in Ontario, 423 sewage treatment plants.
Wow, that's a lot. Sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like cheap to run, right? So that's the other thing. Like money is involved in running these things too, right?
Yeah. Totally.
It's like
for sure.
how they even break down the cost. As I said, like 80% York, 20% Durham. That's actually even the cost works out that way. So 80% of the cost has to come from York region.
Oh, that makes sense. So you're like paying for what you use, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Do we have any place in Canada where you're like, oh, don't drink the water here? Oh, like maybe, or sure, maybe like some crazy remote area.
For the most part, we do a really good job. Even it's not like every single place is connected to a water main, right? Most of the things that are connected to the water main, that's pretty good, well-treated water, right? There are other areas, even in Pickering areas, northern Pickering areas, they're not connected to any water main, so they have to drill to the water level. And then that is even when you do all that, you have to do all these treatments before you get that water into the house.
But are they like don't drink the tap water?
No.
Is there any place? There's no place in Canada where you're just like don't.
I don't know
drink the
about
tap
any
water.
place in Canada, but maybe in areas where they're doing that whole
Like crazy remote kind of thing.
remote or the fracking stuff, if that's like a real issue.
Okay. Yeah. So I was thinking about Flint, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was like, oh, don't drink the water there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just comparing and contrasting here. I'm like, we have clean water, we have really good roads, we have a lot of development. I'm like, Canada seems like the move, bro. Like crossing the border. I'm telling you, it's like it's so stark contrast, but like, I don't know, you almost have to be looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, because Tara didn't feel this way, and I was like, weird, but maybe you're not looking at
I
it.
don't know, but I always felt that when I think it was like whenever you cross the border and you're going through Buffalo, right? Generally,
like, ooh, it's weird.
it looks bad.
Yeah, right.
Looks
But then we even talk about like major cities, and then like people in like LA, and then I know some dude in LA, and he's like,
I think
he was in Canada.
I think that they run differently, where the money isn't in the city, like the upkeep of it. People live outside of the city. The suburbs is the main thing about America. I think that's where the cleanliness stuff is. Like,
okay, maybe. But when I was in Austin, and then I went to John Danaher's class, it was based in the suburbs, right? So like, I got dropped off by an Uber, and then like I was like, oh, you guys have any money? Like, can I buy this thing? They're like, no, you need to get cash. We don't have a tap. And I was like, all right, cool. So then as I was leaving, they were like, just avoid the like watch out for the homeless people. And I was like, that's funny. And then they're like, no, we're serious. I was like, what? And but I'm like, dog, we're in the suburbs though. And then as I'm going, I'm like, oh, I see what you mean. It's like The Walking Dead, bro.
Right.
We're in the suburbs. There's like moms like jogging in the morning and stuff, and then they're just running past like zombies.
The thing
And
is,
you're
like,
just oh, this is it. Okay.
See, I didn't see any of that where I was north of Chicago. Like it's still Chicago, like 30 minutes away from Chicago on a train or something like that. But that one felt super nice.
So, okay, right. So there's like pockets of it, but like, is there a place aside from it's Maine and Hastings? That's what it is in BC, where there's like zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see homeless people in downtown Toronto, and for me, that's like kind of an ick. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of people, but like, it's not as bad as like America. I think we really have.
Oh no. Yeah, I would not compare. Like, we're way better off, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people like Drake, he's like, oh yeah, like, oh, American, and then they're like, oh, but you're Canadian, and they make fun of him, right? Like, oh, you're like Kendrick Lamar, you're trying to be American, and when you go and see it, you're like, yeah, that's not us, bro. Like I'm seeing it, I'm like, ooh, this feels really weird to me, you know?
Right.
Even the price of things, like it's great because like we cross the border, oh, it's cheaper in America, but you're like, oh, but the exchange rate is so high. But it's like, no, it's cheaper because they probably need it to be cheaper too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the people that live in this area probably don't make that much money, so they need it to be like $20 for a jacket.
Right.
Like that's like a jacket, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna find $20 for a jacket anywhere in Canada, bro.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know? And we complain so much, but it's like, I don't know if we know how good we have it in Canada. And it's all separated by a simple border of me going to the guy and being like, here's my passport. So what are you doing in Buffalo? Oh, okay, cool. Where'd you go when you come back? Like, oh, I went to Target. He's like, oh, that's cool. All right, bye. You know, it's like, dude, it's just a border. And like, you just cross the border and you're just like, whoa, what happened here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know? But even parts of Niagara too are like very run down, and I'm like, oh, is it because we're in close proximity to the border? That's why it's like this. Like I'm not too sure. Like it's like it does
Yeah,
look pretty run down in Niagara.
in some parts of Niagara. I wonder because if it's how old it is, or because these things it's the border thing, right? They were built along the border probably a long time ago, and then it's just not as busy or important anymore. Wait, are you frozen?
All right, technical issue, and we're back. All right, you're saying you were just checking out the population numbers?
Yeah, I was just curious. What is the population in Buffalo and Toronto?
Okay.
What's your guess?
Buffalo?
Yeah.
500,000.
Yeah, 274,000 as of 2023.
Oh, okay.
And it's been going down.
Oh, yeah, because people just like, what are we doing here, bro?
Yeah, so I can understand the rundown.
Even driving through like the side, it's not really suburbs, but like the side areas, it's like, ooh, these are really, really rundown houses, bro. Like, you guys need to fix this, man. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, you're saying to fix it, but there's no money. If there's no money, there's no way to fix it.
Yeah, totally. The by the way, this alpha brain does not work. I don't feel any different. Tara's like, you're probably gonna be like placebo king and be like, oh, I feel amazing. I'm like, no, I don't feel anything at all. Sorry, side tangent. The what were we saying? Rundownness.
Yeah, just because there's no money in the city, so it's gonna be run.
Did you freeze again? Oh, there we go. You're back.
Yes.
All right, technical issue again. That's kind of weird. I don't think it's my internet. I don't know. All right, whatever. So you're saying rundownness?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying they don't have money. As the population keeps going down, there's nothing to like. There's no way to upkeep the stuff, right?
Yeah, totally. It's just, but I feel like this has been going on for a while because like my first trip to like I went to Austin because like it was like 2 years ago now, I guess, and everyone's like, Austin's the hub, and I was like, oh, it's kind of weird. There's like homeless people, and then like my cousins have gone to like Seattle, and then like just other part like their parents are in like LA, and then they're also like, oh, it's kind of weird, and then you went to Hawaii recently, and then I was like, oh, is there any like a year ago or something, and I was like, oh, is there any like poverty there? And you're like, yeah, a little bit, but like not too much. So like that place seems okay, but it's just like,
I mean, they still have a homeless issue, in Hawaii, yeah.
But it's not like, oh, all right, sure. So like,
well, I mean, like if I saw where Obama's house was, right?
Oh, it's bad.
And then it's like a couple blocks down, there were some tents. So it's like,
oh wow, okay. So my question is like, is America like a paper tiger, bro? Like it looks like a tiger, but it's made out of paper. And you're like, oh, you have no, like the only thing that's saving them is their army. Get rid of the army, and it's like, what do you guys have, bro? Entertainment, I guess, sure. But like, it doesn't feel like the tip of the spear to me anymore.
I mean, it's yes and no. I mean, economically, they're number one. They're still.
But like, who's making that money? You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I'm not seeing this money being spread around, or.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe their taxes are too low to be able to, because they don't spend on they have to pay for their own healthcare, or you have to have like a good company that you're working at to have all that stuff, right?
True.
So like, I think I don't know if I forgot the exact stat number, but it's like a lot of people are bankrupt because
of healthcare. Dog, why don't you just make it like, let's figure this out, man? Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, if that's the case, maybe it's true what they say when they're like, there's the 1% that's holding us down, and us in Canada, we're like, could be.
There's another life here. Yeah, here's a
but like then you go to America, you're like, no, there is like a 1% that's like, you could feel it. Like if you are the biggest economy but people are suffering, somebody's keeping the money, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not being spread, and that's probably why you have so much like Alex Jones type people, Bernie Sanders. They're like, oh my god, there's a corruption, blah blah blah. totally related to UAPs, but like it's so palpable, you know?
Hmm.
Like I don't like it was funny because even like going there and then you said the healthcare. It's funny because we're like, oh, the stuff is cheaper here, and then Tara was like, but they don't have healthcare, and I was like, that's true. Like that was what I was gonna say too. But then I was like, is it cheaper because they're so poor? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
what
right.
is the average income of someone in America?
I think it's
Like, is
uh,
if it's like let's say
you can't say
30K.
all of America, but it's hard to.
No, but all right. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is an actual example I used professionally.
Mhm.
So when you say like average, okay, that is a misleading number because you can have like such a skew that like if somebody's making like $10 billion and then
Yeah.
one person's making like $10, it's like okay, the average is like $100,000. Like that's not true. What is the mode? What is the most recurring number?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay, I
what
got
like
an average
okay,
for the United States as of 2022. Average income was 37,500 USD, right?
geez, 37. Okay.
And the average income in Canada in 2022 was 57,000.
There it is. There it is. We just cracked the code as to why when you cross the border, you're like, it feels uh like a paper tiger.
Right, right.
You're like, what's going on here, guys? Like it really feels it's almost like as you go more south, it's like more and more poverty because Mexico's at the bottom, right? And you're just like, oh, this is like,
Right, right, right.
what are you doing, right? And then America's like, okay, okay. And then you cross the border, Canada, you're like, oh, here we go again. Like,
Mhm.
I feel comfortable. And it's not even a sense of like, or maybe it's a myriad of things because like, it's also the gun issue. You're just like, who has a gun here?
Mhm.
Who's gonna shoot me here? You know what I mean? Like, sure, you can get shot in Canada too, but like, not like it's way harder to get a gun here than it is there.
Sure.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Right.
So there's that.
I
But
I wonder
yeah,
also with that average kind of income and like how do you make people join the army, right?
oh, probably it's like here's the money,
Here's some money. Yeah, yeah.
stable job.
Yeah.
Maybe they are fully built off the military industrial complex. Maybe their entire industry is military. Because like you were saying,
Mhm.
like how do you make somebody join the army? Oh, okay, you have secured education, you have secured housing,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So you have a lot of soldiers
Yeah.
because it's an easy transition. That actually makes total sense. Because if the average income is 37,
Yeah.
that makes sense as to why.
But I'm
Wait,
curious.
hold on.
Let me see
Yeah.
what's the I don't know, but that's using today's
I was,
conversion rate though too, right?
I was gonna say to you, like, with 37, what's the conversion to Canada?
All right, let me
Is it
see.
gonna be like 50? Like,
It's possible. Let me see. But it's to them it's 37, right? But their products, as you said, is cheaper too.
so cheap. That's why we went. Like $20 for a
Uh,
jacket. Like, what am I doing out here?
mhm. Convert to.
Like, I'm really wondering, are we glorifying America in a
Uh,
very
it's
like
50.
it's
It's
the
53
perspective
as of today. I think 53.
if it was 37.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, bear with me here though. But if you don't have insurance for healthcare, and healthcare is like my cousin gave birth and it cost her like I think she said it was like $20,000,
Hmm.
but she had insurance. If you don't have insurance, you're making 37, cost 20K, you're indebted for life. And that's to give birth, bro.
Hmm.
Like it's free to give birth here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I wonder if really what it is a huge disparity between rich and poor there. And we are all
Hmm.
looking at the rich and ignoring the poor.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? We're like, we look at like, oh, Joe Rogan made $100 million. Like, oh my God, he's eating out all the time at like these restaurants, blah, blah, blah. And like, oh, Dave Chappelle, whatever. But then it's like, yeah, but those are the few and far between, bro.
Oh
Like if you
yeah,
read
yeah,
Malcolm
yeah.
Gladwell's, like outliers, bro. Like that's not the norm. That's
Hmm.
like one out of how many people are millions of people are there,
Hmm.
you know? And like it's so weirdly palpable. But I have another interesting perspective related to this. So I was listening to the CIA dude, and he was saying that there's a lot of foreign investment from he was saying in America, but like I noticed it in Canada too. So a lot of rich Chinese people will send their kids here, get like some citizenship, and then start buying land in America.
Hmm.
But he's a CIA guy. And he said that the reason why that is, and it's not like they're doing it to invade, right? Because it's like, oh, like Chinese are taking over, whatever. Like he's like, there's a war of economics, sure, but it's not really about that. It's really because China is a state-run country, so like even if you buy land, they can take that land back. So what these rich Chinese people are doing, they're like, well, there's better legalities in
Hmm.
America. So if my kid learns the legal system and then becomes American, they buy the land, there's no chance of them taking it back,
Hmm.
right? So it's like my money's safer in a different country than it is in my current country.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, yeah, that totally makes sense. And then as we're driving back through from Buffalo to Toronto and then getting back home, I was like, what is that? Like we were passing this mall and it was this crazy like light thing. It's like it looked like a wave. Like the side of the mall was like a screen and then there was like a wave going. And I was like, oh, what is that? And Tara's like, oh, it's a mall. So I look over, it's Chinese writing. I'm like, yep, that's what's happening, bro. You see
Hmm.
bubble tea shops everywhere. Remember we were just talking about that? Like Pickering's got all these bubble tea shops, like Korean shops. It's like, is Asia investing? Is Asia gonna take over the world, bro? Like not through might, but through economics.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Right? And it's
Yeah.
like, don't you want our money? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, oh, America, like we
Yeah.
can help you with your GDP. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
We want
Don't you?
their investment, of course.
Right? And I think this is because one thing that you listen to a lot of podcasts, like military people on podcasts, they're talking about like the threat of China, right? And they're like, you're battling a 5,000 year long empire, whereas America is only like what 200 years old, right? So like you have people there that are like, oh, we'll play the long game. So it's like, yeah, you're the superpower now, but like who really owns it? We do because we're actually buying everything.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
I guess.
So it's like this. In Canada, if they bought a house, and then remember Canada had to stop people from doing that. Like they said you can't just sit on houses anymore.
Hmm.
So like if you buy a house, you can rent it out to a Canadian.
Yeah.
So if
Can't
right,
be
so
vacant
like
property. Yeah.
yeah, you can't. But then they stopped doing that. They can't have vacant properties now, so people have to live in them. But you could theoretically, if you were like a multi-millionaire in China or multi-billionaire in China, your kid comes here, your kid buys property, and then what does the Canadian do? What do? We rent it from them.
Hmm.
So who owns who, bro? You own the property that I'm paying you for. You know what I mean? It's like a genius game of how you can control everything because you don't care about the people, you care about the board. You know what I'm
The
saying? Like what chessboard are we playing on?
right.
We're playing on my chessboard.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
Like like basically who's running the world? Like we look at like, oh, America's running the world, whatever. It's like, sure, but economically, we actually run the world. Or you disagree?
As in we, as in.
China, like Asia.
Uh. I mean, yeah. If you think of it like that, but I don't know if they're necessarily state oriented, right? There just could be individuals. Is that what you're
No,
saying?
no, for sure. No, that's all. No, no, no. Like China, the country.
Mm. Yeah.
Or here. Economics runs the world. It has
Oh.
nothing to do with like the country or like the military might or whatever. It's really just like the the really rich people in that country are investing, and that's who runs the world.
Mm-hmm.
The people have the most money.
Yeah.
Because they're buying up the chessboard.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like, is that what's really going on? Like we think of it in terms of like countries that are fighting for power, but it's like these really rich people are like, you guys are fighting on our chessboard. But you don't realize that the chessboard's owned. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're trying to say. Yeah.
But do you think, but you disagree with, you're like, I don't think that's real, or?
I mean, not necessarily. I'm trying to think how would that.
Let's say I'm like a really rich person from Dubai. Okay.
Sure.
And then you're like, oh, healthcare. Who cares, man? I just buy a plane ticket, pay for healthcare in a different country, fly back to my own place. It's like the rules don't really matter.
Of
It's
course,
more
yeah,
about like
yeah, yeah.
how much money I have to get things done.
Yeah, right.
So at the end of the day, it's like economics rules the world, not these like ridiculous borders. Like there's like a shadow game, right? But it's like a shadow game that's going on. We're all like Russia, China, U.S., but it's like, sure, that's what we're all looking at, but really it's like who's investing in what.
Mm-hmm.
And that matters way more than like military wars that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like
there's more money in like an economy than just like a war economy.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that is this is what I mean. And I think that is the paper tiger of America. We look at America like, oh, they're the best. When you go on the ground, you're like, oh, dude, people are suffering. But like, oh, we have the biggest like army. It's like, okay, but your people are like suffering though. So it's like your people can't live off of an army. You know what I mean? So it's like, are they about to crumble?
I think if America crumbles, the whole world is hurt.
I don't think so. I don't think so anymore. Really?
No,
but why though? Why?
As we mentioned, it's if the flow of free market is not there, if the waters are not protected, then that free market breaks.
But I don't think that, or here, no, or maybe it's like this. Maybe it's like this. It is a, no, I know. All right, so hold on. It's not that it's gonna break. It's that it has become a monarch. You know, like the queen. Is that correct? Monarch? Like it's you have the queen and then like the prime minister. The queen is literally just there for ceremonial reasons. The queen has no power, right? It's really the prime minister. Is that how the world's run? It's like we're looking at America like the queen, but it's like, yeah, but not really. Like it's really the prime minister.
I don't think so.
But like, why? Because those waterways that you're saying that need protection. Yes, but like whose money is running through those things? So it's like you use the waterway, sure, but you don't make enough to control what's going in the waterway. That's an economic thing.
Mm-hmm. But that's
like on the surface, you know.
Yeah, no, but that's the flow of that free market, right?
Yes, right. So like they're protecting the ideology, but who's actually playing on the field? It's sort of like does the coach make more than LeBron James?
It's like this. If there isn't if we have roads to get to work.
Yeah.
The government's there to maintain those roads. If the road's not maintained and the road goes, breaks down and stuff, there's no way to get to work.
Right, but
then the economy breaks.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. So in Las Vegas, one thing that the Uber driver was telling me was that there's no, I think he said there's like no tax or there's basically no tax, and that's why people come there. I'm like, well, then who pays for the roads? And they're like, the corporations do, the casinos. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, because they want people to come and spend money, so they're like spending money on making the infrastructure better. So it's like, it's not the government that's forcing it or like making the change happen. It's the money holders. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So like, I think that.
But that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
That's tax, right?
No, he said that there's no tax. That's why people flock there.
No.
And like,
yeah, but the tax is paid through it's corporate tax.
Right. Okay. Going back to the LeBron James example.
Okay.
Does LeBron James make more money than the coach?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like the coach is like the government. You're like, hey, here are the rules. Here, I'm going to set the plays, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, the corporation, LeBron James, is really the breadwinner. So it's like, and then if LeBron James leaves, goes to a different coach, different country, it's like he takes that money opportunity with him.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like they work in tandem, but I think that the corporations hold more power and like do more. Like overall, because they can just like leave, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that's what's going on. It's like you have these like Asian countries being like, that's cute that you guys control the waterways. Or us, you're like the coach, but like we're on the field.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So like America being in power, I think it's more like you're letting them stay in power because you need their infrastructure, but they really don't contribute to that thing. Like they're not really making the goods and services. They're just holding things down for us, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that that's why there's such a rich poor disparity in America, because it's like you're a paper tiger, bro. Like we need your military, sure, to like keep everything safe, but like your actual economy is not doing well. Or like your people are not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the argument can be made about like China too, because I've heard a lot about like starving people in China, you know?
Yeah, and there's different things about that. They can control the media to what they want to show to their own public too, right? So we don't know what's happening, even like within their own people.
Yeah, true. All this to say, I think Canada is the spot. That's really where I'm heading. Like I'm like, I've been to a lot of places in the world, and I'm just like, I haven't seen any place as great as Canada. Now that I'm like, I just crossed the border again, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I don't really like America. All right, cool, we're going back home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even sure you can talk about like the Philippines, right? And they're like, oh, Boracay is really nice, like this like tourist town. It's like, yeah, that's a tourist island though, bro. Like on the whole, what do most people are living like?
Right.
And I think that Canada is like, on the whole, I can go to like a remote place. That's why I asked you about the water in the beginning of the podcast. Like, can you find a place? And then you're like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, yeah, like every place is pretty good in Canada.
Yeah, I think yeah. Even if there's a difference too, like if I go to America, you still feel like you're not from here, right? You're not.
Yeah.
I can probably enter. I've never been to BC, but if I go to BC, I'll probably feel like this still feels home.
Yes. No. That's true. It's not like America feels like disparate parts. They're all like, why are we? It's a collective.
Well, their own. Yeah.
State.
It's united, right? So they're all different within their own way. They're on their own country in a way. They're just united.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. It's like how you go to Texas and you're like, oh, it's different from Boston. Boston's different from New York. But you're right. If you go to like Vancouver, if you go to Calgary, you're just like, oh, there's the same kinds of people, bro. Mm-hmm. They're all very polite, very nice. You have like a very uniform persona.
Right. Yeah.
Not that we don't have like our own negative aspects to it.
Sure.
Like, you know, what we did to indigenous and stuff like that, or like we have our own poverty. Of course we have our problems, but like
to acknowledge it though, we've acknowledged those issues, right? As a government has acknowledged those issues, or they're trying to fix it, right? There's something there that's, you know, trying to happen. I don't think there's no mention of Native Indians and stuff in America. There's no mention of none of that stuff is.
This is what I'm trying to say. Like, I think we have it all wrong, bro. Like, I don't think America's the greatest place ever.
Mm-hmm.
I really think if we're just considering North America, like,
sure,
Canada, US, Mexico, I think Canada's the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And like the development is crazy. Like we're going through like, okay, here's the other thing too. It's like, who is the person that's making everything so uniform? Who's the contractor? Because you know the way, you know the new structure of the way buildings are being built in Canada, like has a very uniform look.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you go to like rural areas, like on the way to there's a place called Kentville on the way to Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first went there, it was just like a sleepy town, like very old. And then like it's been years and years, and every time I go back, there's more and more development. And then every development looks like uniform, you know, like the same kind of Walmart, the same kind of boxy look.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, do you know what I'm saying about like the uniform look? How it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a square look. Yeah, it's sort of like a Brock Road in
Mhm.
Pickering.
Mhm.
It's like that kind of look. And you're like, who is the one funding all of this? Because like you're kind of making Canada uniformly look like this.
Mhm.
Or do you think they agreed upon it? And then whoever's doing that, you're making all the money, bro. Like,
Right.
you know, whoever's making infrastructure probably has the most money.
Mhm.
But that's not the Canadian government. That's like a private contractor.
Yeah, yeah,
Correct? You're right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So then it goes back to it. It's like, who's really pulling all the strings? It's like the private contractors, the money people.
Mhm.
Like, sure, you have to apply for the permits, whatever, and like you have to pay taxes. But like, or you know, or a better example, you know, Scarborough town, you know, Yorkdale,
Yeah.
and how it's like very beautiful, like the mall. And then you notice if you go, I don't know if you've been to Scarborough town recently, Markham Mall's kind of similar, like near you. Or is it Markville Mall? Markville
Yeah,
Mall?
Markville. Yeah, Markville.
Okay. So like it's owned by the same people now. And that's why
Yes.
they're all right. And that's why they're all uniformly like leveling themselves up.
Mhm.
And I think it's like an Asian company. So you're like,
Mhm.
okay, so you're owning the malls that we all go to. So it's like, yeah, there's like, you know, like Canada, like it's really the one who owns it is really on top.
Mhm.
You know, like the legalities are keeping that person able to keep owning that land. But like if I'm renting space within a mall, your shop doesn't matter. It's like the owner of the land matters. Because you have to pay rent to that person.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that person has to pay rent to the government. Sure, totally. But like still actually no, a perfect example is everyone's income. Right? Like let's say you make like $50,000, right? And then you only pay a certain portion of that to the government.
Mhm.
But the majority still left to me.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And then there's like tax loopholes where you can reduce that amount of tax. You know what I mean? So like, I think it's pretty evident that like the money people, the economics owners are really in power here.
Mhm.
Would you disagree?
Yes and no. I think yes in that sense, of course. But you see, if it's not that they're not in power, you want that kind of people investing, right?
Mm,
Government is there as a body to just keep things running.
yeah. So they're not really in power. They're like
But if again, it's running, but then like the whole regulatory bodies, those are the things just to make sure things are running smoothly. That kind of stuff is what their job is. That's why they want investment. They want people to bring money in here, right?
yes, but it's a double-edged sword because you're like, if I create a policy that turns people away, then I will have no money because they'll leave.
Right, but sometimes that happens when you're trying to protect your citizens.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So it's like a tug of war.
It can be.
It's
Yeah.
always like this back
Yeah.
and forth
Yeah.
negotiation and
Yeah, I mean, like if you think about it, like
Yeah, I would
we
agree with
didn't
that,
we,
yeah.
we didn't have weekends right? Before.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
It
not
was
like
7 days?
yeah, you got to work 7 days.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Weekends came
Interesting.
later. You
Because
think
they're like, we need to protect our people.
yeah, they need some days off. Like this is we make these things up, right? But like why we
Oh,
have
so
weekends?
it's almost like a union.
Yeah,
It's like we're gonna band together to like negotiate on
sure.
this behalf.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so that's where that's where like the power of the unions come in and those sort of things. That was like a big thing before, right? Now people don't want, like Amazon doesn't want unions, right? That's going to hurt them.
Right.
But then unions
Okay, this makes
protect
sense.
people, right? Or protect the workers.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so it really just is like a tug of war battle between like
Mm.
it's just like continual negotiations.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I can accept that. I still think that like companies hold the most power
Of
because
course,
they
yeah.
can
I
just
mean,
jump countries,
yeah.
especially multinational corporations. It's like, well, this is the rules here and that's the rules there.
But they
And,
also want, even in people that are investing, they also want a stable government. They don't want something that's crazy because they maybe if the whole country goes to shit, then you're not making anything.
True.
If people are just destroying buildings or just, you know what I mean?
And that's bad for business.
That's bad for business.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like there's just like Earth has a very convoluted game that it's playing. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
society and like economics and like government politics. It's such a like a weird game that we're all trying to figure out and like play. Like there's no uniform. Let's just make everything better for people. It's more like all these individual interests that are just vying for like
Exactly.
my own interest.
Yeah.
You know, which speaks to the childlike nature of us, not childlike, childish nature of us as a species.
Hmm.
Because we're so like, we're still caught up in like the me, my, I, like that's mine. I want this. You know, there's no like consciousness revolution where we're all working together as one.
Right. Yes.
They're aliens, bro. Because they allegedly are like, um, you're too naive you're too, I guess naive, yeah. You're too like babyish as a species that you cannot integrate with the galactic organization. That is just being tossed around recently. Well, it was like tossed around before by an Israeli government official of over 30 years. Not saying that that's real, but what I'm saying is what dropped yesterday, everything is really lining up from everything I've seen and read towards like this is an 80-year cover up. They fully said that in the show. So like if you don't know what we're talking about, News Nation had a Crash Retrieval whistleblower come onto the show and he admitted that he had been like taking part with his team in recovering these UAP crafts. And one was obviously non-human intelligence because it was like an egg. I've never even seen that kind of craft before, which is crazy. And they showed footage of night vision capturing of that thing. So gonna pause there. What do you think about that so far? And then I'm just gonna keep going and let's just see at the point where you're like, oh, it's undeniable. Is it undeniable with the footage from your perspective?
I
Because
mean,
you're the one who's like, oh, I'm incredulous about this.
uh, I mean, I think people wanted more.
Okay. No. Because you only saw the highlights, right? You didn't watch the full thing yet. So now I'm gonna add
Sure.
more. So I watched the full thing this morning. Crazy dude. So they interestingly enough, the dude is a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he's like a high level tip of the spear operator. He was wearing like a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu t-shirt the whole time. I was like, oh, that's like a great plug for them. But what him and his team did was they all came forward and they were like, we all worked on this thing. And basically what happened was around 9/11, they started getting trained for like a different operation. And then they left the army to work as contractors for this organization, but they didn't say what the organization was. It's either Lockheed Martin or the CIA. Like, but they didn't say which one it is yet. They're holding that back for now. So they were doing all these crash retrievals, and they're like, "Oh, non-human intelligence is real." He's been working on this for like 10 years. He said, as an operator for this. And then the reason why they decided to come forward is because this organization basically tried to assassinate them. So they were on a mission, and in that mission, the friendlies turned hostile, and they're like, "Oh, we're trying to be like killed so that this this thing like has plausible deniability." It's like, "Oh, we didn't know who those people were. They were like bad, like they're trying to cut off their loose ends or whatever, right?" So when this happened, like, "Okay, we're gonna band together. We're gonna like come forward with all of our evidence and stuff." And they have all of these high-ranking like military officials, senators in that video being like, "Yeah, he's trustworthy. I totally believe what he says. He's an operator of like the highest caliber. He's not a liar." Okay. What do you think about that so far?
Interesting.
Very freaking interesting, right? Okay, here's the next bit. So, there's a person called Diana Pasulka, and she has a PhD in religious studies, and she set out to this is all American Alchemy. You check this out. So she set out to disprove religious encounters. She's like, "No, that's like, like when you see like the Divine Mary and then you have like all this stuff, you're like," she's like, "No, that's not real." So in doing that, she realized, wait, these are identical to UFO encounters, UAP encounters. Okay. So the operator, the main guy, he's telling the story about how he flew out to pick up a craft, and en route to the craft, he made a psychic link with some NHI, and it like entered into his soul, he said, and he was just filled with like this emotion of like love, but a little bit of sadness, and he was so overwhelmed he started crying, and he's like, "Dude, am I having a PTSD breakdown right now? Like, should I abort the mission? Like, what's going on?" And as he continued, he's like, it like basically took over me, and then now it's still with me, and it's just this like divine feeling of love, and it's guiding me into what I need to do next. And it feels like a feminine energy of just infinite love. Like, it's just like a mother's love, right? And it's still with me. Okay. And then he was saying that following this encounter, he started to have like radiation burns on his body. He lost all the hair on his body, and then he started to lose his skin, right? And these symptoms are also what happens in divine encounters. That's what Diana Pasulka, independently of this, like, this is a different interview. She's like, "Yeah, like this UFO, like this comports with this, like the radiation burns, and then like the divine feeling of love." And then if you listen to Forbidden Knowledge, he was suggesting that like Jesus and Buddha, they're all just like conscious beings, like that might have been linked to Anunnaki, like aliens, providing, I know this sounds freaking crazy, providing like guidance for humanity. Doesn't that sound like a Jesus story when he's like, "Yeah, the divine love just like came into me. It's still with me. It's protecting me. It's helping to guide me." I'm like, this sounds like religion, bro. This sounds like Jesus right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Is it moving you more in the needle? Like, something's going on here.
I don't know.
Wow, really? You still think that it's all a lie?
No,
Like,
I'm not saying it's a lie.
Conspiracy?
No, I'm not saying it's a lie. I don't know if I'm convinced.
Okay.
I'm convinced in his
wild.
In his story, sure. Like,
and a lot of
he
people
believes
are
this happened to
corroborating
him.
it.
Sure.
But the footage, they're corroborating it. Like other military people, still, you're like, no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, let me continue because there's more to the story. I'm gonna keep going until you're like, okay, I see what you mean. Okay, so because of the effects that were happening to his body, he was So there's a guy called Gary Nolan. I've talked about him like before on the podcast. And when I was saying like a Stanford professor who like believes in UFOs, he is uh he's Nobel Prize winner. He's like studying immunology. And then he went against Neil deGrasse Tyson, where he's like, Neil, like you're such a shill. UFOs are real. You're just lying to the public, blah, 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 right? I think the alpha brain's kicking in. I could feel my body like getting this weird adrenaline rush. Or maybe because we're talking about this, but I don't know. So it came out in this interview because they were always like Gary Nolan, what do you know? You know, and he's like, I can't tell you that. Like, but he studied like alien crafts, like alien injuries, stuff like that. And like, he's like, in this interview, he's like, yeah, I'm contracted by the CIA to study this. That's the first time he admitted it on camera. So, okay, so now you have this dude, Nobel Prize winner, studying like damage related to UAP crafts, under contract from the CIA, put in charge of studying this dude who got this radiation sickness. Do you think that's real?
I mean, it could
Like,
be.
now it's like,
I'm not saying. Yeah, it could be real.
no, I mean, like now, do you think that there's anything going on? Like, you're like, oh yeah, this is like, there's something going on. UAPs are real. There's like a conspiracy cover up, legacy program. Do you think that that could still just be fictitious, or do you think it's like, okay, this actually is all adding up now?
Yeah, I don't know if his experience may be real.
No, but you have
like,
all right,
I don't know if they're if
you
necessarily
have him,
has
his operators, bro. You have
Yeah.
him as operators, his manager. You have a dude that's contracted by the CIA to like study what effects are happening to him. But that guy's also studying other people. So you're like, and we don't believe that there's a weird legacy program going on. And one of the dudes that was in charge of the dude that came forward, he was like, yeah, there's an 80-year cover up that's been happening related to UFOs.
right.
Like, he blatantly says that in the, actually, I'm going to cut that part up because it was crazy. Just like, there's an 80-year cover up that's been happening and we've known about it this whole time. So like, with all that testimony, still, you're like, oh, maybe it's not real.
Yeah, still, it's not. I'm not convinced.
Oh
anything.
man, that is freaking crazy, bro. Okay, then the last bit.
As I said, I think it just comes down to you have to show me the alien.
But there's the craft. What?
That image was not that good.
So okay, so you have all this testimony. You have all these people saying that they're working on this.
But you've shown me all these different images. I like there hasn't been like a clear image. I guess you said that they have some 4K footage or something. Well, I would like to see that.
No, but okay, all right. Independent of this, what do you think this is then? You think it's just a bunch of crazy people?
I don't know.
No, but like, what else could it be? What else could this be, other than them telling the truth?
Other than that, or they're just making things up, or they think that they're experiencing something, but may not be exactly that.
What? But you have all of these people working on it, these operators,
Right.
as a team. You have the people in charge of it. He's like, I worked on this program. I was commissioned by this like organization. He didn't say which one it was.
Sure.
You have a dude that's like, yeah, I'm contracted by the CIA to study UFO injuries.
Okay.
But I thought that would be the smoking gun, to be like, I am contracted by the CIA to study UFO injuries.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what? Why would you study UFO injuries? There's a guy that they actually paid out his it's in that program too, but he had like long-term disability. And then they stopped paying it out because they're like, oh, UFOs aren't real or whatever. And then John McCain had to reverse that because UFOs are real and he did get injured on the job related to UFO. So they pay him long-term disability now because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, that's not real?
No, I'm not saying
like,
that.
What else can this? Well, like,
I'm not
what else
okay.
can this be?
I'm not saying it's an alien craft. I'm saying it could be things that the military worked on, and then there's like new technology that is affecting a person. I'm not saying those are not possibly real. I just don't know if
part
that's
of this is fake. Which part of this is fake? Like, what you don't think the aliens are real, or you don't think that?
Yeah, I don't know if necessarily the aliens are necessarily real. It could be just our own tech, as you said. As I mean, you've said before, right? If this is our own tech and we're running things, and there's like, oh, this guy's being affected by this new tech that we created or something.
So you think it's all homegrown?
Could be.
So okay, so you believe that there's all right, do you believe there's a legacy program going on?
What does that mean, legacy program?
Like a long time program that's working outside of the scope of the American people and the government.
Outside of the scope of the American people?
Like it's a shadow project, shadow government, shadow project.
I don't know if it's necessarily the government doesn't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
No, not all parts of the government. That's why it's like you're not read into this project, so you can't know about it. So like
but it's still government though.
Yeah. But it should be presidential oversight. But they're saying that some presidents didn't know about it. Not all presidents are read into it. Allegedly, Trump is read into it, and that's why he's going to announce it within like 1 to 2 days after his inauguration.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, within 1 to 2 days, I'm just going to tell everyone about what the UAP thing is, and that's like the crazy thing that's going on right now. Like
right
before this one, but like there is this secondary part of the government that nobody's talking about. Do you think that's real? Like this program, do you think that? Well, I mean, how can you even deny it? They fully said like, we don't know what's going on in this program. We're not read into this program.
Who said that?
Senators, because they're trying to figure out what this thing is. Because they're like, there's uncontrolled development and money.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily everything that the senators are given, right? I don't think all top secret stuff are given to the senators.
Right. Okay. So then we agree that there is a secret program going on related to highly advanced technology.
Yeah, I would say, sure, there's programs going on that are top secret.
Do you think this program about the crash retrieval of this UAP is fake?
The video or?
Yeah, sure. The video, like his job, was it fake?
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm not saying that it's a UFO necessarily. It could be a thing that he did for whoever he was working for. That.
Okay, sure. So maybe it's like.
It's like working with something and then you're getting like we didn't realize that you get radiation poisoning from this thing.
Right, totally. So
right.
like you all you're saying is that it's homegrown. It's not actually from a different world.
Right.
So, but you believe the program is real. You believe that this retrieval program is real.
I don't know what do you mean by retrieval.
Like retrieving crafts, like what he did. He's like a helicopter pilot that would fly to these areas, pick up the craft, and then deliver it to a different location.
Would I use the word craft or just like artifact or something?
No, whatever. Like, do you think his job was real?
I don't know. Sure. He's saying it's real.
It's like how, yeah, but and then you have all these operators that were working with him.
Mm-hmm.
You have footage of him actually flying the craft. So it's like, okay, how could we deny? Like, do you think this is all a hoax?
I don't know.
But all right, well, what's the sticking part for you? I'm just so curious. I'm like, why can't, like, what is the one part where you're like, I still don't believe it? I'm like, dog, this guy came out, bro.
Right. But the other people have come out too, right?
Not to this degree. So this is why it's such a big thing. Like this guy's such a high operator with so much credential and so many people backing him, saying it's real. Him and his team came out. All right, let me continue. And then you tell me if you really think it's a hoax. So remember Stephen Greer, like CE5, you can psychically, if you meditate, you can call these crafts. Oh man, look at these balloons every time. Every time I talk about UFOs. So there's a craft, there's like a CE5 procedure where you meditate and you call these crafts into appearance.
Yeah.
So you're like, duh, that sounds like totally fake. That's the protocol they use to get these UFOs to come. So they show footage of them doing the CE5 procedure and
Mm-hmm.
calling these crafts. And then they said that when they called the craft, a disc-shaped craft came, and it seemed like there was a battle between them. And then the egg-shaped NHI craft left.
Wait, this is video footage of this?
Yeah, bro. And you're like, dog, what are we doing now?
They showed the video footage of this?
They showed the video footage of this, and you're like, dog, what's going on? This is insane. That's why I'm like, okay, you guys dropped the craziest ball right now. And remember Project Stargate? Well, I don't know if I told you about this, but like, there's this we talked about it. The psychic link that we all have, right? And like, it was most likely from like hunter-gatherer times. Me and Athena have it. Like, I just know what it is, like intuitively.
Sure.
It's like intuition, right?
Yeah.
So the government was using Project Stargate in order to like find like Russian spies, all this stuff. And like Joe McMoneagle, this like very famous guy, he was Patient 001. He was on Sean Ryan's podcast. He was explaining it. So in this thing, they talk about how they used psychics are real, psychics are among us, and they actually use psychics to call these crafts because it's a psychic link. That's called. It sounds insane. There's a psychic link that calls these crafts. Okay, and this actually agrees with what that guy who was in Indonesia, and he came to like a clearing and he saw a UFO, and then he saw like all these people being like loaded into the UFO, and then he thought it was like human trafficking, but it turned out later that they were rounding up psychics. Dude, this sounds so crazy. They were rounding up psychics in order to like test them and like use their psychic ability to like communicate with these crafts. Sounds insane, right?
Yeah.
It sounds so insane. So what he was saying is like, the interviewer was like, this is an ontological shock for everyone. Like it's like a deep rooted knowledge that we're like, oh my God, this is crazy. And he's like, no, I think it's ontological relief, because we all kind of felt like there was something else beyond our world that we weren't sure about. And now it's being like proven through these things. Right. And I was like, instantly, I was like, this 90s anime, bro. Like, you're talking about Dragon Ball Z, you're talking about Rick and Yu Yu Hakusho, you're talking about like Inuyasha, like all of this like psychic related stuff that we grew up watching. It's like, oh yeah, this is real. And it almost seemed like from the 90s till now, we kind of went in the other direction of like science in order to like disprove all these things because they didn't want us to know what was really going on. You know? And then now it's like coming to a head where it's like, yeah, psychics are real, UFOs are real, we use psychic abilities to contact these UFOs, everyone has psychic abilities. And you're just like, dog, what are we talking about right now? How do you feel about that? And then I'll get to the last thing where I'm just like, okay, we gotta see how this plays out. Oh, how do you feel about that? You think it's crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy.
But like, even for me, I'm like, dog, what are we talking about here? Like, what do you mean psychic link? Like, I can move stuff with my mind, you know? Like, is Xavier real? I don't know.
Right.
You know? Okay, here's the craziest one. The kicker, and this is how they ended it. So he went to go testify with Congress. They didn't publicize that one because it was like behind closed doors, but now they're publicizing it. And with what he knows and his select team, and they even ran an operation to catch one of the dudes that was a part of this program, like to bring him in or something. He created a company, I guess, an organization called Night Watch. And it's basically these ex-soldiers working with Congress to bring light to this program and show them everything that they all know. And this is the bombshell drop. At the end, they're like, Night Watch. So now we're going to find out some craziness in 2025, bro. So apparently, if you listen to Stephen Greer, he started a podcast and he's like, I want to get ahead of this because a lot of information is going to come out really, really soon. So like, I want to like tell people what's going on. And in his podcast, he was talking about this. He's like, yeah, I worked with this guy for years. Initially, they were going to remain secret and give it to Stephen Greer. Stephen Greer was going to release it to the public. But now they want to come forward because they feel like if we come forward, it's a stronger testimony because then you can look into our backgrounds, you know, all our people, stuff like that. But what Stephen Greer said is this first interview is going to, like, they're going to drop the interview and they're going to see what the retaliation is because there's people who are trying to kill them. that have worked on these legacy programs that like
Mhm.
are their former employers.
Right.
And then they're going to see how the public takes it. They're going to see what the retaliation is, and then they're going to drop more info. And then when they drop more info, then they're going to wait again, like, okay, how's the public taking this? And they're going to drop more info.
Right.
So how does this relate to like what I was saying about like um, UFOs waiting for us to consciously evolve and not like be with this me my eye game? Allegedly, the guy, the Israeli person who has been in the space defense for 30 years, when he was retiring, he said that there is a secret pact between these aliens and the Americans, and Trump was read in on this, and he wanted to tell the American people, but the aliens were like, they're not ready. We need you to like fully understand what space is, and like, because if you start entering into our like world of like space travel and stuff, you could be very hostile against us. So we want to monitor you until you've evolved consciously in order to join the Galactic Federation. Bro, are we talking about Star Wars? Like, what are we talking about? And he said that there's a secret military base underneath Mars where they meet and they talk about this stuff. It sounds bonkers, but now I'm like, how much of this is all adding up, bro? Because I heard this Israeli story like long ago, but I'm like, nah, that sounds crazy. But then if you watch the program, there is the hacker in the UK. He's under house arrest now, where he hacked into the Pentagon's files back in like the early 90s when firewalls are not strong, and he found it like a spreadsheet called like galactic ambassadors, and it was a list of people with their ranks and like the people that can interact with these aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Links up to what the Israeli guy said. How crazy is this story?
It's crazy.
It's freaking crazy, bro. Like, what are we doing, bro? This is 2025. This is like on the news. Trump, 2 days in office. If you say, yeah, this is all real, guys, I'm going to be like, okay, where are we headed? Where are we headed? Are we Star Wars? Is this Dune? Is this Dune, bro?
Right.
What do you think?
We'll see.
It's pretty exciting though, right? Like in like a nervous but like kind of cool way.
Sure.
Or like, I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah.
Because like, all right, if you think about it, Star Wars was taken from the Vedas, right? Like they openly say that. Like the story of Star Wars is like Vedic texts.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at Dune, and Star Wars actually stole a lot of its stories from Dune.
Yeah.
Right? But in Dune, they're talking about psychic links, talking about like alien races, talking about galactic federations. I'm like, why did that happen in the early like 60s, let's say, when this alien stuff came out? Did people know what it was and then they had to bury it? Why did Men in Black come out?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why was there this huge upswing during that time period of like, oh, we're all a part of this galactic like, you know, we're not alone in the universe. And then you have like mainstream scientists being like, we're actually alone. We can't find any planets. Oh, you never, blah, blah, blah. You know, like James Webb Telescope, we're looking everywhere, but there's no human life. You know? Have we been like psyoped for the last 80 years into thinking that we're alone in the universe? That's my real question.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm really stoked to find out about. I'm like, because maybe it is human. Maybe it's homegrown, the tech that you're talking about. They all say it's not. And the Galactic Federation thing, I'm like, I gotta wait to see how that plays out. But like, was early 2000s, early 90s, like all those stories, was there truth in that? And then we just slowly got psyoped to not believe that that's real.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? You think it's crazy? You think I'm like, oh, dude, you're out to lunch?
I mean, we like an alien story. I don't know if it's necessarily a psyop.
What do you mean? You mean like, okay, what do you mean? It's not psyop. So like nobody's like trying to make us believe that we're alone in the universe?
Yeah.
Okay. So you think it just like accidentally happened that way, that we're alone in the, like, we're like, oh, just science just moved in this direction?
No, I don't think science is saying that we're alone in the universe. I think if you look at the amount of billions of galaxies and things that we have, I wouldn't even say we're alone in the universe.
Exactly. Like every scientist is like, we're not alone in the universe. But like,
just by chance, like by
or
probability wise.
probability. Yeah. Or what about this? It's not that we're alone in the universe. Is it that we are being lied to about being in contact with others from the rest of the universe?
Being in contact with?
So like the movie, like are we interacting with other entities?
Yeah, to that I don't
NHI.
think. Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, it's curious, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're right. It could just be like maybe the NHI that the guy said that entered his body. Maybe it's just like another psychic that's psychically linking into him and then making him think that he's being contacted by an NHI or something, you know?
Sure.
Or maybe he had a psychological break. Who knows? You know?
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird that like Dana Pasulka was like, these religious encounters are very akin to UFO encounters.
Mm-hmm.
And then this operator basically just explained it a religious encounter. He's like, "Oh, a spirit's is within me now."
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, what are you searching?
No, nothing. I just got a call. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know. Where do we leave this? It's an interesting year ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, it'll be interesting to see. Sure.
Yeah, how this plays out, right?
Yeah.
Because that is pretty nuts. The only thing that I'm left on the table with, and this is what Stephen Greer was saying, is that they're going to use this to spin the narrative that a mothership is coming to invade Earth by 2027. That's what the UFO Revolution 2.0 said. That's what Project Blue Book is about. That's what Stephen Greer's been preaching. That's my only fear of like, could they go in that direction and could we all band together against an alien invasion? I don't think so. I think COVID, even though it was like negative, it made us all skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that like the ramification related to COVID, it's like, oh, 6 feet didn't work. Lockdowns didn't work. This vaccine didn't work. I think that more people, and how many people didn't want to take the vaccine? I think that there's going to be like, sure, they might want to try this Project Blue Book thing, but I think that on the whole, most people are going to look into it and then they're going to encounter like Stephen Greer's documentaries and be like, wait, this Project Blue Book. You know what I mean? And I think that's why like Jeremy Corbell, Stephen Greer, they're all doing a service. I mean, even in our little way too, like us talking about it, these UFOs and bringing up like Project Blue Book, I think that's a service too, where it's like, don't be fooled in case they do come with that narrative of like a mothership is on its way to invade Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only way you can go with this thing. Like if you want to band humans together.
Right.
Or no, you disagree? You think that there's another way you can go?
No. I'm saying like, what happens if a mothership
There
is
is a mothership.
coming? And that guy is the one that's stirring us away.
Okay. He presents two arguments against that. And everyone says the same argument too. One, if you were going to take us over, you would have done it a long time ago. Because like you have the advanced technology to take us over. With one of those ships, dog, you could have taken us over. And two, although there is one hypothesis that kind of freaks me out about this, but I'll get into that in a second.
It's the only thing I'm thinking about is three body problem.
Okay.
The story of three. I think the story of three body problem, if I'm like, we mentioned a little bit, I think last week, is that the ship is coming and there's someone there sending us information to get ready against the ship.
Oh, they're like trying to protect us. Like there's a defector on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Okay, maybe true. Then the other part about that is like, if it's slowly coming here, if you can move at the speed of light, why didn't you just arrive already? Like, why are you slowly arriving by 2027, bro, dog? Like, it makes no sense.
I don't think it's slowly. I think it's just, that's how far away they are.
It takes 2 years to get to us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, who knows, like, when they left.
Maybe. Nobody has ever come forward within this UFO community saying that we're about to be invaded. Nobody said that.
Mm-hmm.
But what Stephen Greer is saying is as they slowly make this public, they're going to spin it into that narrative to create fear.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. Maybe there is, but I don't know. I feel like you would have just taken us over like way long ago. So here's the other thing that is a little freaky about that, about like invasion. The same CIA guy who was talking about the China thing, like taking us over through like money, like buying out
Yeah.
stuff. He said we're all thinking about invasions as like War of the Worlds, lasers. Like he's like that's great for Hollywood, but as an he was in Syria, he was in like all these countries as a CIA operative, and he was like working to help flip these assets. Right? He's like, if you really like, let's say you want to take over Earth, and like you want to take a resource from Earth, right? He's like, you wouldn't actually come and destroy them. What you would do is you'd make a deal with one of the biggest like gangs, not gangs, but like you'd make a treaty and then you'd infiltrate that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you don't disrupt anything, but you still take it over. And then I was like, wait a minute, this galactic alliance thing that they just talked about, is this the treaty you're talking about? Like, is this the treaty that they have and they're working with US and they're like, all right, US, we're going to keep you in power and like you can rule the world, but allow us to keep extracting your resources. Which, I mean, that is the most logical way. Like, why would you come and destroy everything we have just to take our water? Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Because then there's the chance that we could just nuke ourselves. You know what I mean? It's just like, there's so many ways that this could go wrong.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know if I believe in like a War of the Worlds, like it's coming and we're gonna battle it out.
Sure.
But it could be that they're working with treaties with our biggest governments to like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what do you think about that? Does that seem more logical or?
I mean, what do you mean by
Like-
logical? I don't know if these treaties are real, right?
No, I'm saying which is more logical? Like, would you come destroy us, like battle, like head to head battle? Or would you like infiltrate through like governance?
I don't know if they would understand how our systems work.
I agree. But then it's like, so what are these UFOs doing? Like, why are they here? So like, we're
No,
down
what
in
I'm
UFO crafts.
no, what I'm saying is I don't know if they're UFOs. Then are they just our tech?
No, I'm talking about the mothership hypothesis.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, like if a mothership was coming, if an NHI race was coming to take over Earth, like I couldn't see it being a head-to-head battle. It might be, but like that's the most damage you can make. Like you want to keep you want to keep the peace while taking over. And what the CIA guy was saying is like the best way to do that is to make treaties with the governments that we have set up.
Right.
Yeah. Have I lost you on that one? Like, what?
No, I don't know if they would necessarily come to just take over or battle. Maybe they're not doing that.
But I'm saying the Blue Book thing of like they're saying that the mothership is coming.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is I don't think people will buy the mothership hypothesis
Okay. Yeah.
unless you think they would.
I don't think so. Yeah. It would have to be. I think it would have to be. I mean, they could. Yeah, I think they could. If the president does say it, I think they could. Yeah.
Okay, and that's the real battle. That right there is the real battle that the disclosure people are going at. So like, don't be Project Blue Booked.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. You're like, maybe it's true, and maybe we are being. So like, maybe these people are saying, don't Project Blue Book us, are the real villains. Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
2025 and beyond is gonna be crazy for many reasons beyond beyond Trump becoming president. Yeah. Optimistic still or no? They're like, oh, it's gonna be great.
I mean, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting year, though.
For sure. Yeah. I think the only thing that I want out of this whole thing though is the tech. I don't care about the NHI. I don't care about like sure, like I do care about the NHI. I care about the psychics. Like that's crazy, you know. But like on a practical utilitarian level, now that you've come out with this legacy program, just give us the technology so we can have infinite energy, bro.
Hmm.
Like I think that's really the sticking point of this whole thing. It's like we're all arguing over like the crafts, but it's more like what's the energy source for the craft, bro? Give me
Hmm.
that. Because that could make the world a totally better place.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's all I got. Any foul words? Any foul thoughts?
No, I don't know. Oh, it's gonna. Well, TikTok's
Yeah.
banned. That's gone. Well, for now.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's coming
And
back.
Trump starts his first day on Monday, right? Yeah. Or is
Yeah.
inaugurated on Monday. First day would be Tuesday, I guess.
All right. Speaking of the TikTok thing, one final thing. Because I noticed this on Instagram. They changed from the squares to rectangles. If you go on your Instagram profile, the
Okay.
preview isn't squares anymore. So basically all these people that curated like myself, I curated my feed so that it's all square based. So when you click on my profile, it's like, oh, okay, I can read everything. But they flipped to a rectangle. And then people online, I was like, oh, is this going to stay permanent? And then people online were pissed because like they just rolled it out without any warning. But apparently Instagram has been like telling certain people that this was coming. They've talked about it. They've rolled it out to a few organizations. And then I went to these big like Instagram handles like to see like, oh, did it affect them? And no, all their feed was perfect. And I was like, oh, you were one of the ones that Instagram told prior that this was going to happen. Where I'm really getting at with this is in this digital world, the programming gods hold the keys to everything, bro. And we can't forget that. Like TikTok just got banned. Boom. What? Oh, it's rectangles now. Oh, what? And you can't do anything about it. Use the platform or don't use the platform.
Yeah. Well, they
Really?
yeah they wanted the TikTok people to come onto their platform. That's the
Yeah,
transition.
yeah, totally. But what I'm saying is like you have no power in relation to the programmers,
Mhm.
especially in the digital world. Like you have to just go with whatever they say. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that because of this, there's going to be a backlash where people are just going to start like just not dissociating, but like they're going to like detach themselves from social media. I think the real world is going to become um, more of a stronger place because people are going to be like, oh, I have no power here. Okay, but I have power in real life. Do you think so or no? Do you think people are still going to be super addicted to social media?
They've grown up on social media.
Okay, maybe. But do you think it's scary that like they hold all the keys? You know what I mean? You're like, dog, like you are the overlords.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And the more and more we progress into this digital space, the more you like invest. Because a lot of people lost jobs, bro. People are
Oh yeah.
making so much money off TikTok, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like your whole livelihood is gone.
Yep.
You know, so like beware the falsities of like the digital universe because it's not real, bro.
They're hoping to make a deal with Trump. Did you see
Oh,
TikTok? Sorry.
no, I didn't see that. That's
No, so
interesting.
in that thing where it's like TikTok is like gone for now, but we're hoping to with the next administration, Donald Trump, to make a deal or something.
Oh, so that you can like leave it.
Yeah, because
there.
they said it's gone for now. So I don't know if it's anything can happen.
Well,
Or
unless they
if
like sell
they
it, right?
if they sell I saw some interview where it's like they will buy a portion of it, but they won't buy the algorithm.
Analytic. Oh, algorithm. Okay,
Yeah, the
interesting.
algorithm can still stay with them, but the
With China.
with ByteDance, and just the US portion will be in the US
Interesting. Okay.
if they agree to that buy or the sell. Yeah.
This, I think the big question in 2025 is gonna be what is real, bro. Yeah, I'm still going with the word of abundance. 2025 years the year of abundance, but maybe we'll get abundant
Yeah,
quality.
it could be.
You know, like maybe it's like abundant quality. Like you realize, oh, this is fake. Oh, it's not real. Oh,
Sure.
aliens. You know, but like, yeah, like with the whole alien thing and like the social media stuff, you're just like, dog, what's going on, bro? You know, yeah. And with AI too, oh my god, I don't know if I sent it to you yet, but like they took the Severance scene and they put Keanu Reeves' face on it, and it was like, it's so realistic. Where are we going with that? Nothing is real, bro.
Right.
Weird. Yeah. All right. Hopefully next week is super exciting and we get the release of the UFO documents, and Trump doesn't do anything too crazy. Yeah. But till next time. Wait. All right. So last thing. With the Trump coming into office, I get why he was voted into office. If you have all this like legacy program stuff going on, all this corruption, and it's associated with like career politicians, if I was American too, I'd be like, we need to change things up. And he's the only one that's not a career politician. Like, I get why you would vote for him. I think that they're so pushed against the wall, especially going there and you're like, dog, you guys are like, what's going on here? You know, like the poverty. I think they're so against the wall right now that they're desperate for any real change. And I see I get why they voted for Trump. It's not like, oh, they're racist. It's like, no, there's corruption, bro. We need to fix this.
I mean, yeah, there's different reasons. There was a reason why he was not voted in the second time, right? So
yeah, but they went counterculture back to normal culture. Oh, that didn't work. Back to counterculture. You know, I think they gave the traditional politicians a chance, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this is not real," and then they're fighting back. Yeah. Anyways, all right. Till next week. Take it easy, Bish.
Peace.
Bye. All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors: Zenro Clothing Co., Portland Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Bish.
Peace.